and welcome or welcome back to Bookmark Chronicles. Welcome to all the books that I DNF'd in 2024. There are 27 of them. If I get this video up on time, it's my birthday. If not, don't worry about it. Out of the 27 books that I DNF'd, I think I only have a DNF review for one of them, so I will have that linked in the description for you. But otherwise, the first book that I DNF'd was Death a Life. This is supposed to be a satirical memoir written by Death himself. I wanted to read it because Robin really enjoyed it. However, it just didn't work for me and I didn't care. I didn't make it far, to be honest. I maybe read like 6 pages and then I let it go, but someone just bought it from me on Pango, so shout out to that person. Then we have 7 Days in June. Now, I knew that I wasn't gonna like this. I wanted to read this solely because I wanted to see what everybody was talking about, because y'all keep talking about this book like it's a romance. It's not. This is about 2 people reconnecting and they do have a sexual relationship. However, it is not a romance. Both of them need therapy. And I don't remember how far I made it, but that's really all I got from it, and that was enough. Then we have The Surgeon. This is the first book in the Rosalian Isles series. I really like this TV show, and so I wanted to read the books. However, I was bored out of my mind, and then it kept being mentioned how plain Jane is and how she's so not pretty, and who the fuck cares? She's a fucking detective, not a model. I didn't even get to the part where Maura comes into play. Just watch the TV show. If you like police procedurals and you want to see one where the detective and the medical examiner are BFFs, watch it. It's a great time. Loved it. Then we have Mercy by Jodi Picoult. Now, up until last year maybe, I had never DNF'd anything by her ever. Her books are very formulaic, but the beginnings are always very slow, and I think that formula no longer works for me, despite the fact that I know that there's going to be a ridiculous plot twist, that the ending's going to be amazing. I don't care anymore. So I've DNF'd a few things from her in the past year, and I think that moving forward, I will just no longer read her work, which is sad, but it is what it is. I'm not saying she's a bad author at all. She's also a very good person, but her books are no longer for me. In this one, a man drives to this small town with his wife's body in the front seat. He gets out of the car. He's in like the town square or some shit, and he's like, my wife is dead, I killed her. You get the impression that she was terminally ill and it was a mercy killing, but I didn't get far enough to actually find out. So, sounds interesting. I'm sure it's good. I'm just not gonna read it. Then we have In a Not So Perfect World. I had an arc of this because the publisher had reached out to me, and it's about a woman who was working for, I want to say, a gaming company, or she was interviewing for a gaming company anyway. It's like her dream job. However, for some reason, we're supposed to find it appropriate that they told her that she has to stay single in order to get the job. Is that not a lawsuit right there? I'm confused, but what do I know? Then we have White Smoke by Tiffany D. Jackson. First of all, I don't do haunted houses, but also I didn't like the main character. I didn't like her family, and I just didn't care. I think maybe I completed the first chapter. I'm honestly not sure. I just wasn't feeling it. Then we have Take My Hand. So this book has really high ratings, and while I don't actually think it's a bad book, I think I wasn't in the right headspace for it. This is a historical fiction that is based on true events about the forced sterilization of Black women and girls, and it's very heavy. On top of that, though, there was a romance that was starting to form that felt really fucking weird to me, and I just didn't want to see it through. So I made it pretty far in this. I think I read at least 70-something%. But by the time I got to that point where the romance was starting to take place, I was just like, nah, I'm gonna leave while I'm ahead. Then I tried for the second time to read Every Heart a Doorway. I know that y'all love this series, and I love that for y'all. Y'all can keep it. I was bored. I didn't care. I didn't like any of the characters. I had to let it go. Next is Mr. Down for Whatever. This is book 3 or 4 in the Bays of Juneteenth series. I think my issue with this series was that I wanted to binge it, and that does not work because a lot of it becomes repetitive. But also in this one, I just didn't care about the main character. He just was there, kinda. So I DNF'd this book and then also DNF'd the series. Next is Working Through It by Kasha Thompson. This is a workplace romance in a church. In a church. Where we start off with our male main character engaged to someone else. And I was like, something about that just doesn't sit right with me. I had suspicions. I looked them up. My suspicions were correct, and I'm not going to read that, so I DNF'd it. Kasha Thompson is just not for me, and I am done trying to read anything by her. Then we have Name of the Wind. I attempted to read this in my White Man Fantasy vlog. It didn't go well. I didn't make it far. I didn't make it far at all. I actually got to the part where I don't know if he's the main character, but the guy is like literally starting to tell his story, like his origin story. And I was just like, yeah, no, I don't care anymore. I'm convinced that Monet set me up when she told me to read that. Well played. Well played. Then Nat and I DNF Single Dads Club. We tried to buddy read this and neither of us enjoyed it. The main characters are both weirdly obsessed with each other, but keep coming up with excuses for why they can't be together, and the excuses don't make any sense. So they're constantly pining after each other and all this other shit, but then it's called Single Dads Club, so you think that there's gonna be a club of single dads and a little bromance or something. We didn't get any of that. I also just didn't like the writing style, so I think maybe this author isn't for me. I have heard so many people talk about Archer's voice, and I don't get it. I don't understand what is going on. First and foremost, you start the book and you are hit with trauma. I didn't make it far, but I don't know if Anna DNF'd or if she actually made it all the way through, but she talks about it in one of her recent videos, and it was confirmation that I did not need to finish that book because it's weird. It doesn't really feel like a romance. I don't know what was going on there, but I'm glad that I quit. Then a friend of mine had given me Fever Dream, and it felt like a fever dream. I don't even know what the point was supposed to be. All I remember is a woman talking about the death of her son and how that was somehow related to the death of a horse. I don't know. I genuinely don't know. Handle with Care was another Jodi Picoult. In this one, it's about a little girl who has a condition where her bones are very brittle, and so they're constantly breaking. And I don't remember how far I made it. However, I did skip to the end to see how it ends. And if I had read that book the entire way through, I would have been fucking pissed. The ending of this book is reminiscent of the feeling that I got at the end of Divergent, of the last book of the Divergent series, where it's kind of like we went through all of this just for that to happen. That's how I felt at the end of this book. Then I tried to read A Sweet Mess, which is a contemporary romance about a bakery owner and a food critic. He comes into her bakery, he orders something, is given the wrong cake, and writes a scathing review. This cake was meant for a 6-year-old. It's weird. It's like chocolate cake with peanut butter and gummy worms or some shit. And his review really impacts her business. Prior to this happening, they'd had a one-night stand. They didn't know who the other person was. He feels bad, he wants to help her, and he really likes her. So he decides to help her out by getting her a spot on the show for this channel that's like similar to the Food Network. They still have feelings for each other. They still want to pursue a relationship, but they didn't want it to seem like she had only gotten the spot on the show because they were dating, and I understand that. However, have a fucking conversation. Get ahead of it. Tell the real story, like do something. And they just kept making it a big deal, yet they're like so intensely attached to each other that it's dinner time and they have people over and they're ready to fuck on the dining room table, and I'm just like, seriously, get it together. So yeah, and I said I was gonna read it and people were like, I don't think you should do that, and they were right. I should have listened, but I didn't. This I have a DNF review for, Part of Your World by Abby Jimenez. Again, I know that this book is loved by so many people, and I love that for y'all, but I can't fucking stand Alexis. That's all I'm going to say. If you want my thoughts, you can watch the review. Then I DNF'd Blood Colony by Tanana Redo. This is the third book in the African Immortal series. This is not a bad book at all. I actually loved the first two books. David is unhinged. Put that man under the jail. However, this book starts to shift and focus more on the next generation, which I didn't really care for. So I decided to quit, but this is essentially Black vampires and it's so good. It's brutal. David is wild. Next is Birthday Girl by Penelope Douglas. I knew I shouldn't have read it. I knew. Heather told me not to. I didn't listen. I picked this up solely because I wanted to see what the hype was about. And I like Pike as a character. I do. Everyone else, kick rocks. It was predictable. I knew exactly what was gonna happen before it happened. And I just don't really love taboo situations, so I didn't really care for it. So her having feelings for her boyfriend's dad, not for me. Next is Murder by Page One. This was the group pick for Noir Apothecary during Black Halloween. I was bored. Also, that book was hard as fuck to find. I could not find it anywhere. I think I ended up getting it from Barnes & Noble, and right before that happened, I think I finally found it on Thrift, but I could not find it anywhere else. In this one, we're following a main character whose best friend gets accused of murder because an author is murdered in her bookstore. Sounds fun, right? Boring. So boring. Oh my god. Then we have a novel, Christmas. This book I read as a part of my Black Christmas romance vlog at the end of the year. I had an arc of this from Black Odyssey Media, and I started off loving it. I thought this was gonna be my favorite. Nope. Female main characters started being like weirdly girl hate towards other women, and I was like, oh, what are we doing? I don't like that. And then the male main character is describing her like she's not like other girls, and I'm just like, okay, that's weird. And then the sex scenes were cringe as fuck. I couldn't do it. Would not recommend. You want a Black Christmas romance? Read Christmas in Spite of You, because that one, even though I hated the beginning and I thought I was gonna DNF, that one was wonderful. Then I stopped reading Where There is Smoke, There's Fire after like 3 pages. I don't know where we were going, but in the beginning, we were having a little depressy-sessy, and I wasn't in the right space for that. I needed something light, something cute, something that was gonna make me giggle and kick my feet, and I was not getting that. It was just like, she's just talking about all these things that have happened to her, and she's so sad, and I'm just like, whoa, I just got here. Give me some time. Say hello. Let me take my coat off first. Just something. I couldn't do it. Immediately, I was just like, no. It's probably not a bad book, but I'm not going back. Then we have Brown Sugar This Christmas. I was so excited for this one. I got this during Stuff Your Kindle Day. I did my try it chapter, and I was like, ooh, there's tension. I'm gonna love it. It's gonna be so cute. Female main character is a bitch. She's a bitch during the first interaction, but I was like, oh, okay, like, you know, they got off on the wrong foot, so they're gonna be enemies, whatever. Then we have a second interaction, and she just continues to be a bitch. She's also a bitch to all of her friends, and I'm just like, god damn, are you ever happy? So I do want to try to read the next book in the series. I'm gonna wait until they're on sale because it's like $7 for the ebook. Hopefully the rest of the series is good. I believe it's a second chance. Maybe, but this one didn't work for me. Next is Pillow Thoughts by Courtney Peppernell. This is a collection of poetry, which is actually very good, very well written. A lot of it was just really sad, and I couldn't do it. I had to stop. But if you like poetry, I would definitely recommend. Then we have The Umber King. I really like Jamie Applegate Hunter. We're mutuals on TikTok, and I wanted to read her book because I wanted to support her. Unfortunately, it's just not for me. It is a romantasy, which I don't like. The main character's Faye, which I don't like. And it's actually a really cool world though. The main character, her twin sister was murdered like 15 years ago, and she witnessed it, and so she's been hunting the man who took her soul. Let me explain that. The twins have grayscale sight. They can only see in shades of black, white, and gray. However, Rory, the main character, can see the color of people's souls. So if she sees someone with a black soul, that means that they are the worst of the worst. They're destined for hell. Her sister's soul was bright pink, and so she has been trying to find this person so she can get her sister's soul back. In the process of doing that, she has been tracking down people with black souls, and because she is a vigilante serial killer and she gets caught. So she gets sent to Vincula, which is kind of like a step above going to hell, maybe. And she's supposed to have a romance with the ruler of the Vincula realm, the Umbra King. Very cool world, very cool setup, but it is a duology and the first book is already 400 something pages and I knew I wasn't gonna make it that long. And lastly, we have Prince of Hearts. This is another book that I got from Stuff Your Kindle Day. It's the first in a series. It's about this guy who, he might be involved in some shady shit, but he has a one-night stand with a cartel princess. Shenanigans ensue. Y'all know I love cartel romance. However, he was so mean to her. And I was like, I can't do this. You can't be mean to her. So I quit. Probably will read the next book in the series though. Those are the books that I DNF'd in 2024. My next video will be my best of the year, so keep an eye out for that. Let me know what books you DNF'd last year. Otherwise, that's all I have for you today, and I'll see you in the next video.